What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Before we dive in on today's topic, I just want to remind everybody at home to make sure you hit that like button for me. And if you're new and you enjoy this type of content, make sure you subscribe. Yesterday, I dropped the 5th episode to the Heliocentric podcast. And very briefly in that podcast, I highlighted a matchup that was on yesterday's NBA schedule. And it was the Washington Wizards against the Detroit Pistons. Most listeners was probably like, P, why the hell are you bringing up this game? Why is this a highlighted matchup to you? And it was because both teams are at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. You had the Detroit Pistons at the time on a 13-game losing streak, and the Washington Wizards, I believe, at the time was on a 9-game losing streak. In today's generation, the kids would call this a mid-off. What mid-offs produce is either exciting, game-ending basketball because the teams are both so mediocre and so mid that it would form a competitive basketball game that have a dramatic ending, or one of these two teams is going to lose badly to the other team, and it was going to create dramatic headlines, right? Like, for example, if I'm the Detroit Pistons and I'm on a 13-game losing streak already, and I lose badly to a team that's beneath me in the standings while I'm on a 13-game losing streak, which obviously you don't think can get any more worse than that, but somehow the Wizards found a way to be 15th below the Pistons while they're on this losing streak. If I lose to that team badly, we got to start talking about a coaching change, front office change, a player got to get traded. Something big got to happen. And that's exactly what we got last night. The Washington Wizards go in and they beat the Pistons by 19 points, almost a 20-point win. And if I'm not mistaken, let me check it because it's right in front of me. The Detroit Pistons were at home. You're at home. You lose to a Wizards team that is, again, was below you in the standings as of yesterday. I don't care if it's by one spot. I don't care if it's by one spot. To be below a team that's on a 13-game losing streak is kind of mind-shattering to me. I just can't grasp it at all. But what's even more mind-blowing to me is the fact that the Pistons lose to that team almost by 20. So now you're on a 14-game losing streak, Detroit Pistons. And when I look at the schedule in front of me, your last win was October 28th. And the only memorable thing about that game is I think Zach LaVine had 50 points. But you still managed to beat the Bulls by 16 points while he gave you 50. And this was the last positive or exciting thing that came about in the season for the Pistons. And the reason I'm highlighting this time is for a couple of reasons. Number one, obviously, it's the last time they had a win. I'm going to look at my phone live so y'all can see when I'm taping this. And this is Tuesday, November 28th. So they haven't had a win in officially a month. They've gone an entire month without a win. An entire month. We just started the NBA and they already have a winless month. Like, that's 2K stuff. But besides the fact of them not having a win in over a month, October 28th, the Pistons were 2-1. They had a very impressive opening night against the Miami Heat team who just played in the NBA Finals months ago. They lost by 1 on the back of Cade Cunningham having a 30-point performance. Then 2 nights later, they go out and they beat a Hornets team by double digits. Then they go and beat a Bulls team while Zach LaVine has 50. And I remember at that point being like, okay, that's the Pistons. It's early in the season, 3 games in, but I'm impressed with the Pistons. They almost beat the Miami Heat. They missed a game winner. That's very good to see. They go out and they beat the Hornets that they should beat. They go out and they beat the Bulls while Zach has 50, so they withstand that. I remember that time being like, okay, I'm gonna keep watching the Pistons. And for me to look back and realize that, damn, they haven't had a win since then, it's crazy to me. And I want to go over a couple of things within this stuff that's going on with all of the losing in Detroit, just to break some things down. So the first thing we should highlight is the fact that you do have Cade Cunningham, former number 1 overall pick, basically in his sophomore season. Yeah, this is technically his 3rd year, but last year he played a handful of games with the calf injury that turned into a shin injury or whatever, and he had to get surgery and all of that. So he pretty much missed all of last year. He's been fine. Has Cade Cunningham been an all-star? Has he been the best thing we've ever seen? No. But I think when you talk about a team that's on a 14-game losing streak that hasn't had a win in over a month, He's the one positive thing that you can kind of take out of this. Him and Asar Thompson. I'll give you Asar Thompson's defensive upside and the defensive presence he's brung in his rookie year, which is very impressive because rookie players don't defend at this level or caliber out of the gate. That is something I guess you can also take as a positive. But Cade Cunningham right now is giving you 22 points a game, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 4.5 turnovers as well. Everybody know I've been super critical of Cade's turnovers. Shooting the ball fairly cool, nothing crazy. Love to see the field goal percentage go up, only 40%. You get 33% from 3. I'm fine with the 33% from 3 when you realize how bad the spacing is on his team and how ugly and disgusting the offense is. When you really dive in to just take a look at how the Detroit Pistons are playing basketball from an offensive standpoint, you begin to appreciate some of these numbers from Cade Cunningham. You know, it doesn't look so bad when you understand the difficulty in which this guy is playing on a night-by-night basis. And I'll remind you, Cade Cunningham has played in every single loss in this 14-game stretch. They've played 17 games. He's played 17 games. So I just want to put that out there, that this is not a losing streak where, like, the star was out for half of the games or he missed 3 games here. Like, no. He's been here. He's been available, and that hasn't changed anything. The reason I'm bringing this up is because the next highest scorer is Jay Ivey at 12.7 points per game. So there's a 10-point gap between Cade and anybody else. Shot attempts is 10 as well. Cade Cunningham shoots 20 shots per game. The next highest guy is Asar Thompson, who shoots 10. There's this big-ass gap between Cade Cunningham and the rest of the Detroit Pistons roster. I'm a big believer in Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren has missed, 7 games? He's only played in 10 of the 17 games. His numbers are okay. 12 and 11 and a block and a half. Matter of fact, that's better than okay. That's better than okay. Jalen Duren has been doing his thing. Everybody else, nothing is positive. The three-point shooting, the spacing, defensively, there's nothing that this team can really hold their hat on for a positive gain. And we'll talk about the upcoming schedule and in the midst of this 14-game losing streak. Right now, their offense is rated 27th in the NBA, and they have the 24th defense. So you have the 3rd worst offense, 6th worst defense. Their pace is 10th. So they play with some pace. They get up and down because they're a young team. And just to dive in on a couple of things to give y'all an understanding, because I know a lot of people aren't probably lining up night by night on their league pass to watch the Detroit Pistons. Listen to some of these stats and information on the team. Points per game. The Detroit Pistons average 109 points per night. That is the 3rd worst average in the NBA. There's 27th. They're ranked 27th. Opponents' average points per game against the Pistons is 118 points, excuse me. That's 23rd. So, off top, it's going to be extremely hard to win basketball games when you're looking at a 10-point differential every single night. They're giving up 10-plus points more than what they're scoring on offense. And that's just the surface level stuff. When we dive in, you'll begin to understand why that's that reason. Fouls. They average 23 fouls per night. That's dead last in the NBA. No team fouls more than the Detroit Pistons. Fouls drawn, 2nd to last at 29. They only get fouled 18 times a game. Turnovers. Only one other team turns the ball over more in the NBA. They average 17 turnovers a game. I talked about earlier with Cade Cunningham, but as a team, outside of just Cade, they turn the ball over, again, almost more than anybody in the entire NBA, which is probably why they're giving up so many points, because they're giving up easy points in transition with all of the turnovers. On the opposite side, they don't force turnovers. They also rank 29th in opponents' turnovers. Opponents only turn the ball over 12 times a night against the Detroit Pistons. Opponents are going against the Pistons, and they're playing super comfortable. They're getting right into their shit. They're comfortable. They lay back. That's why a guy like Zach LaVine can give you 50. He can give you 50 because there's no pressure on him. There's nobody there to stir him up. That's why Kyle Kuzma looked as comfortable as he looked last night. That's why Jordan Poole was able to just be Jordan Poole kind of in the midst of that game, because nobody's there to apply pressure, turn guys on. Everybody is going in against the Pistons and they're being comfortable as hell. The name of the game is to defend people the way that you wouldn't want to be defended. If I don't like pressure, I'm going to pressure my opponent. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I don't like 94 feet aggression, I'm probably going to do that to my opponent. Whatever I don't enjoy as an offensive player, I'm going to use that against my opponent, because 90% of the time, nobody likes it. You talk about steals. They don't do that. They're second to last in steals per game. They only get 6 steals per game. And teams go in there and they steal the ball from the Pistons all the time. They're second to last in opponent steals, which means that the opponents are going in there and stealing the ball from them with ease. Opponents average 9 steals a night against the Pistons. 9 compared to the 6 steals that the Pistons are getting. Every stat that you're seeing, I'm reading it both ways. I'm reading it from the Pistons' perspective and their opponents. And you'll see a consistent thing. They're almost last or dead last in every category, whether it's for themselves or their opponents. So they don't force turnovers, but they turn over the ball also. They don't get steals. Their opponent steals the ball from them. The only couple of things that is positive for them, as I look at everything in front of me that's Detroit Pistons related through the course of these 17 games, they're 5th in blocks. They get 6 blocks a night. Congratulations. Hooray. They rebound the ball. They're 7th in rebounds, 46 rebounds a night. And they take the most 2-point shots in the NBA. There's not one team in the NBA that attempts more 2-pointers than the Detroit Pistons. They shoot 60 2-point attempts a night. 60, which is number 1 in the NBA. Number 1, nobody shoots more 2-pointers than the Detroit Pistons, which again goes to the point of the Cade Cunningham spacing and a lot of the difficult shots he has to take, whether it's the mid-range, the lack of getting to the basket with ease. And then when you look at the opposite way, like I said, they're 5th in blocks, right? Congratulations. But they're 28th on the other side, which means that opponents block their shots just as much. So even though they're top 5 there, they're at the bottom on the opposite end of the spectrum. They get their shots blocked just as much as the shots they block. When you talk about shooting the most 2-point shots in the NBA, guess what? They're ranked last in 3-point shots. They only shoot 29 3-pointers a night. 29. And when they do shoot them, they don't make them. They're shooting 34% from 3, which is ranked 25th. They're bottom 5 in a lot of the main categories that you need to win NBA basketball games. Field goal percentage, 22nd. 3-pointers made, 29th. They only make 10 threes a night. Look at the opposite side. Everything is up. They don't get stops. They can't score. They can't take care of the ball. They don't force turnovers. They get blocks. They get their shots blocked. They shoot a lot of 2s. They don't shoot a lot of 3s. When they do shoot the 3s, they don't make them. They foul more than, like, this is just like, it's kind of mind-boggling that we looked at this team going into the season being somewhat optimistic about them having some type of growth. A lot of basketball people looked at this roster, new coach in Monty Williams, Cade Cunningham is healthy, Jalen Duren, Asar Thompson, and we didn't even know Asar was going to defend like this. We just knew he had a bunch of potential. Jaden Ivey, Marvin Bagley, James Wiseman can give you something. Maybe Killian Hayes can look like a rotational player. You know, you look at over there in Orlando, Jalen Suggs isn't like an all-star, but he's figured out an identity and a role that makes him valuable as a defensive player. As a guy who people was looking at as a former 4th overall pick, like, hey, you know, a 5th overall pick, hey, Jalen Suggs, what we getting from you? It was questionable, but he found a way to carve out an identifiable role that makes him effective and valuable. We thought maybe that could be Killian Hayes. Maybe he'll take responsibility on the defensive side of the basketball because he did show flashes, and he still does. But as far as a rotational piece, it's getting back to, I just don't see it for him. Not at least with this team. And I look around and I'm kind of curious as what direction they're going to move or what's the pivot for this team to get out of this funk. Because, again, I just don't believe that they should be this bad. And when you talk about being on a 14-game losing streak, and one of those losses being against the Washington Wizards last night, who arguably is just as bad as you, the next few games make me scratch my head when I try to think of when the next time the Pistons can get a win. If every team is throwing out their full capable roster, I just don't know when the next time. They might not get another win before 2024 comes. You got the Lakers next tomorrow. After that, you got the Knicks on a back-to-back in New York, in Madison Square Garden. Then you have the Cavs, then the Pacers, then the 76ers twice, then the Bucks, then the Hawks. The Jazz, they play on December 21st. That's the most winnable game I see on here, unless you play the Philadelphia 76ers on back-to-back nights or 2 days apart, and the Sixers say, hey, in this second game, we're not going to play Maxey. We're not going to play Embiid. We're not going to play Tobias Harris. Y'all know how NBA teams do. The whole, we just going to sit our guys. We'll let Jaden Springer play 30 minutes. Paul Reed, you get 30 minutes. Marcus Morris, go get you some minutes or something like that. I don't see how they can beat any of these teams. Any of them. And then after the Jazz, you got the Nets twice, the Celtics, the Raptors, the Rockets. The Rockets is January 1st, so we won't even mention the Rockets. But there's legitimately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 games before the new year. And I only see one that I think they can win. And that's against the Jazz on December 21st if everybody puts out their full starters. And even that Jazz game, I'm taking the Jazz all day. This is legitimately a situation that we could see this team not – this team could go on a 20-something game losing streak. This could get very, very, very ugly. Very ugly as far as what we know right now. Now, again, over the next few weeks, over the rest of the month, going into December, anything is liable to happen. An injury, rest, anything like that could happen. But just based off what I know and the matchups on paper, I just can't tell you the next time they get a win. And it's even more disheartening because, again, this is a situation where you were supposed to establish and build something, some foundational things. Again, I'm not here to say that the Detroit Pistons are supposed to be a playoff team. I'm not saying that they're supposed to have as much success as the Pacers or the Magic or the Thunder or the Timberwolves or anything like that. But damn, 2-15, 14-game losing streak. You just paid Monty Williams $80 million over the offseason to be a coach. And now you got to really look at that and say, golly, how do we escape this? He ain't about to resign. He want his full $80 million. If you fire him, you still got to pay him. And he turned down the first offer. So it might have been a situation where you only got Monty Williams because the money was too good to turn down. And now Monty Williams might be in a situation where he's like, damn, I didn't know it was going to be this bad. Was that $80 million really worth it? I got to deal with this shit. We got rumors about Jaden Ivey being unhappy. He's only in the second year. Coming into the offseason, Cade Cunningham got to get paid. What's that going to look like? Is Cade Cunningham going to want to be a part of this franchise going forward? Who the hell is going to want to be a part of this franchise? If I had a client that was in this year's draft, I would be praying to God that my client does not nowhere near get close to the Pistons in their draft selection. This is a shit show. I don't know how you intrigue any player to come over here and help the cause. You do have money. Like, that's one of the pluses. When I look at the payroll, Joe Harris comes off the books. Bogdanovich has this year and next year after that. After that, you really don't have anybody you're playing. This is a very young roster. But there's no incentive to having money that you can't use. So it's like, yeah, you got money, but who in the hell is coming to play for y'all? You already in Detroit. No disrespect to Detroit. I'm a Chicagoan. They right across the water. That's like cousins. You know what I'm saying? The Midwest stick together. But I ain't gonna lie and act like that's just some desirable place for free agents in any sport. There's no high level free agent that's just packing their bags to come bring their ass to the Midwest in the cold over the likes of Los Angeles. And if you are going to be in a cold, you might as well go to a big market in New York or Brooklyn, Philadelphia. The fuck are you coming to Detroit for? So the only how you going to get anybody is to fucking overpay him. And then that only makes shit worse. Usually when teams are this bad, I can find some type of parallel, some type of hope, something to hang on to, something to cling to. I don't have it for the Pistons. This is not a team that I can say, let's rebuild them on 2K, and I have a clear pathway on how we do that. I don't. And I feel bad because I know a lot of Detroit Pistons fans who had a lot of high hopes, who were super, super ecstatic to get Cade Cunningham a couple years ago, who were super ecstatic to add Jaden Ivey to that mix. This is coming off of drafting Killian Hayes and him not living up to the pick in which he got selected at. To bounce back after that mishap or mispick and to be able to get Cade, Ivey, Duren, that's a good bounce back. You would think on paper. The rest of the shit is pathetic. And if you talk about changes, I don't know where there's not a singular thing that fixes this. Yeah, you can fire the executive Trey Weaver. Hell, you could say, fuck it, we'll bite the bullet and let Monty Williams go. Maybe that was a mistake. We'll just eat up $80 million. Fuck it. Even though there's probably a 95% chance that would never happen, not in year one. But even if we just seen the exception or an anomaly like that happen, that don't change anything. And as far as trades and moves, I don't even know what you do. Who in the NBA want any of these guys that's not named Cunningham Thompson? Jaden Ivey and his frustrations. Cool. Trade him. Who the fuck wants him right now? And if anybody does want him, what they're offering you to get him, does that even make sense for your team? Then you got some guys that can do some things on the contender team. Alec Burks, always a nice veteran piece to have off of the bench for a playoff team. But what are you getting back, man? I don't want to hear draft capital. Y'all clearly don't know what the fuck to do with draft capital. Shit like this, to me, is kind of inexcusable and unacceptable. I was excited. I like the Marcus Sasser draft pick. I like the Star Thompson draft pick. I love Jalen Duren. That's my guy. Had him on Through the Wire podcast live in Vegas. Incredible dude. Really, really fuck with Jalen Duren. Y'all know Cade Cunningham. That's my dog. This shit is disgusting, though. This shit is disgusting. As an NBA fan, as a media person, and as a person that just don't have any ties to Detroit, I'm kind of disgusted with it. I just don't understand how we get basketball this poorly. Our game has so much talent. It's so much parity. And for a team like this early, to be this fucking ass is mind-blowing. That it has to be some consequences. Adam Silver, whoever, we got to start implicating some things in our game for shit like this to not happen. It's one thing for being a not really good team because you're young, you don't know how to win. But I mean, damn, bro. We got to make some rule. Ownership got to sell the team. You can't be the owner of a team and just out of curiosity, because I got things in front of me. We can do whatever we want here on Pee Wee the Plug. We go back. Let's look. I just want to look at the Detroit Pistons, right? Last year, the Detroit Pistons, Dwayne Casey was the coach. They won 17 games. 17 games. And they lost 65. 17 and 65. All right. The year before that, you had 23 wins, 23 and 59. The year before that, 20 and 52. The year before that, 20 and 46. The year before that, 41 and 41. If I'm not mistaken, this is a team that had Blake Griffin. Yes. Blake Griffin, Bruce Brown, Reggie Bullock, Andre Drummond, Jose Calderon. And this is the team that got swept by the Bucks. Year before that, 39 and 43, Stan Van Gundy. It's the year you acquired Blake Griffin. 9th in the Eastern Conference. Year before that, 10th in the Eastern Conference. Year before that, 44-38. It's probably the last time I don't want to say excited, but I really was like, okay. Brandon Jennings, Tobias Harris, Andre Drummond, Spencer Dinwiddie, KCP, Marcus Morris. I believe this team also had Reggie Jackson. This is the team the Cavs, LeBron, and Kyrie swept. You didn't think that they were going to beat the Cavs, but it was like, okay, Reggie Jackson, KCP, Tobias Harris, Drummond, this team, okay. This team is all right. And then the year before that, they were 32-50. So you got only a couple playoff appearances in the last, I don't know how many years. Since 2009, you have 2 playoff appearances. And both of them, you got your ass swept. Poor. And now you start the 2023 season. First 17 games, you're 2-15. I wish I knew the pace in the projection of what they're playing now. I don't have that in front of me, but I really wish. What it expected, okay, it ain't telling me on this website that I'm on. But man, it's looking like another 50-game season where that you have in the L's. Another 50. 1, 2, 3. This team got 3 consecutive years with 50-plus losses. 52, 59, 65. And let's see, since 2009, they got 2 playoff appearances, and they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years with 50-plus losses. I wonder if it gets any worse than that. I wonder. I don't even know how to end the video. Be better, Detroit. Be better, Detroit. I'm seeing what the Lions is doing. I was around when the Tigers were really good. Miguel Cabrera, Victor Martinez, Justin Verlander. I was there for it. I was there for it. And I believe they had Brandon Inge. I just a lot of random Detroit Tiger names that popping into my brain right now. But I remember those days. A lot of excitement. Like I said, I remember when the Pistons had the young team that looked like they was cool. Just a young, fun team putting things together. But 8 50-loss seasons in the past, 2009, past 14 years is unacceptable for that type of fan base. Blue-collar, hard-working people, the Motor City, they deserve better. I don't even know how to close the video out, man. This is... Again, nothing I say is against any player. These are all professional NBA players. They don't suck. They're not garbage. I don't want to say that at all. I'll put that implication out there. Same thing with coaching in front of. These are all professional NBA people. They're qualified to have their jobs. I'm not trying to personally attack or disrespect anybody, but as a collection, this has been a terrible, garbage, sucky year so far to start. And I just think that is unacceptable. In this day and age of the NBA, with so much talent, we should never have a team start a year this bad when their best player is fully healthy. Their best player is fully healthy. And for the most part, the entire team is fully healthy. Yeah, they missed Duren for 7 games, but damn, is Duren, you telling me Duren is that valuable? Shit, he just played last night and they lost to the Wizards still. I just wish it was some type of rules. Man, you lose 15 games in a row, got to sell the team, homie. You lose 15 games in a row, somebody, we automatic trade. Somebody got to get traded. Sir, because this is just, at my core, I'm just a basketball fan. Yeah, I'm a Knicks fan. Yeah, I have favorite players, but I'm just a basketball purist in my heart. And I like seeing good basketball. And because I have this platform where I can meet a lot of different people who have fandom for a lot of different players and a lot of different teams, I want everybody to be able to feel good or have some type of hope or something that they can latch on to. Ain't shit to latch on to in Detroit right now as a basketball fan. This draft class is going to be cool. It's going to be good. Every draft class got something to offer, but ain't no fucking Victor Wembanyama walking through the door for next year's draft that's going to change this shit around like that. And even if it was, what confidence would the fan base have that you could even develop it? Are you going to make the right decision or selection? Be better.